An elderly woman faced with losing her medication. But Clint Eastwood's unexpected intervention changed everything. What happened next will restore your faith in humanity. If you believe kindness can move mountains, hit like and subscribe now. On a chilly morning in a small town, Mrs. Grace, a frail woman in her late 70s, sat silently in her dimly lit kitchen, staring at an unpaid bill for her life-saving medication. The pharmacy had just informed her that without payment, her prescriptions would be stopped immediately. Fear and helplessness clouded her eyes. News of her plight quickly spread through the town, but no one seemed able to help. Until Clint Eastwood, passing through on a visit, heard about Mrs. Grace's desperate situation. Without hesitation, Clint decided to step in. But what he did next wasn't just about paying bills. It was a challenge to a broken system that ignored the vulnerable. Mrs. Grace's story touched Clint deeply, stirring memories of his own mother's struggles. As he approached the pharmacy, a shadowy figure watched from across the street, a powerful lobbyist working to keep medication prices high. Clint knew this fight would be bigger than a single bill. What would you do if you saw injustice so close? Would you stand up or walk away? Comment below. Your voice might be the spark needed for change. Clint's footsteps echoed down the quiet street as he entered the pharmacy, eyes fixed on the counter piled high with unpaid bills and desperate faces. Mrs. Grace sat nearby, trembling, as the pharmacist explained the grim reality. No payment, no medicine. Clint cleared his throat, his voice calm but firm. This stops today. The room fell silent, all eyes on him. Then he pulled out a folder, documents that exposed the pharmacy's ties to a corrupt pharmaceutical company inflating prices to squeeze the vulnerable dry. The lobbyist from the street appeared inside, face twisting in surprise and anger. Clint looked straight at him. People like Mrs. Grace deserve better than your greed. A heated argument broke out, with Clint's words cutting through the tension like a knife. But the battle was far from over. Clint knew that exposing the corruption was only the first step. Outside, news crews had gathered, sensing a story bigger than a single woman's fight. Mrs. Grace's trembling hands clenched into determination. Could one man's stand spark a movement to change the broken system? Would you risk everything to fight for those who can't? Comment below and share your thoughts. Your voice matters more than you think. Clint stood firm as the lobbyist's smug smile faded, replaced by a dangerous glare. You think you can change the system overnight? He sneered. Clint's eyes hardened. Maybe not overnight, but someone has to start. The tension in the room was thick, every word a battle. Meanwhile, Mrs. Grace's story was spreading fast on social media, inspiring thousands who faced the same fight. Suddenly, Clint received a call. A powerful senator had taken notice and wanted to meet. But not everyone wanted change. That same night, Clint's phone buzzed with a warning: back off or face consequences. Fear crept in, but Clint's resolve only grew stronger. Mrs. Grace, once fragile and scared, now stood tall beside him, her courage shining. They can't silence all of us, she whispered. What would you do if standing up meant risking everything? Would you be brave enough to challenge the giants? Comment below. Your courage could inspire millions. Clint and Mrs. Grace stood together in a packed hall as the senator took the stage, promising to investigate the pharmaceutical greed exposed by Clint's bold move. The crowd erupted in applause. But behind the scenes, powerful forces were plotting. Clint received threatening messages, and the lobbyist's influence spread through backroom deals trying to stall the investigation. Yet Clint refused to back down. With Mrs. Grace by his side, they organized community rallies, turning local frustration into a nationwide call for justice. Cameras captured Clint's fiery speech. No one should have to choose between food and medicine. This fight is for every forgotten soul. Just as momentum peaked, a stunning twist rocked the movement. A close ally betrayed them, leaking secrets to their enemies. The betrayal threatened to destroy everything they had built. How do you rebuild trust when everything seems lost? Comment below. What would you do in their place? The betrayal hit Clint and Mrs. Grace like a thunderbolt. The leaked secrets gave their enemies just enough fuel to smear their reputations and slow the investigation. Yet, instead of breaking, Clint grew fiercer. "They think they can bury the truth," he said with steely eyes. "But we're only getting started." Mrs. Grace, once the fragile woman struggling for her medication, now stood as a symbol of resilience, inspiring thousands across the nation. Together, they rallied even harder, holding candlelight vigils, flooding social media with stories of those left behind by the system. Just when it seemed the tide was turning, a shocking revelation surfaced. The senator who promised help was secretly on the lobbyist's payroll. The crowd gasped. Trust shattered once again. Clint looked out over the sea of faces, his voice rising. "This is bigger than any one person. It's a fight for all of us. What would you do if the very people sworn to protect you turned against you?" Comment below. Your voice could be the spark that changes everything. The final blow came when news broke that the senator was deeply involved in the corrupt scheme, crushing the hopes of thousands who believed change was near. But Clint wasn't ready to give up. With Mrs. Grace by his side, he launched a nationwide campaign exposing the truth, using every platform to demand accountability. The media caught fire as everyday people shared their own stories of struggle and resilience, creating an unstoppable wave of public pressure. In a powerful speech that went viral, Clint declared, "When the system fails the people, it's our duty to rise and rewrite the rules." Slowly but surely, investigations reopened and reforms began taking shape. Mrs. Grace received her medication, but more importantly, her fight inspired a movement that wouldn't be silenced. Standing under the bright lights, Clint looked at the crowd and said, "This victory belongs to everyone who refused to be ignored." What would you stand up for if you had the chance? Comment below and join the fight for justice.